Hello everyone, welcome back. A lot of people have asked me what's going on with the ghost guns and the pistol braces in light of the new Supreme Court rulings that have come out. Okay, so let's first talk about where we were. Okay, where we were, where things were going. Where we were, this is going back to last year. The ATF was originally talking about serializing both the 80% frames and the slides. Okay, that's where they were going with this originally, and the AR uppers. Okay, that's where they were going originally, and then they pulled back and they said 80% frames only. Okay. And originally, I think that ruling was supposed to come out in August of 2020. That's when they were going to finalize it. Biden put some pressure on that, and they pulled it back to June, and then they gave 120 days for the dealers to get into compliance, which pushed us out to August. So as it is right now, per ATF, after August 24, okay, basically the frames have to be serialized and sent to an FFL to do a background check. Okay, so basically they're treating the frame, the 80% frame, like a firearm. Okay, so now that doesn't affect the frames that you have already bought or ghost guns that you've already built. Okay, I'm saying it kind of funny so the YouTube algorithms don't pick it up. So I'm gonna say ghost guns, right? It doesn't affect anything that you built, or even if you built it, even if you have the parts and you build it next year, that wouldn't be affected. It solely would affect the dealers, the people that sell it, okay? Because they know they can't control us, right? There's no way they're gonna make us comply because we're spread out all over the place. They can't go into people's houses, on people's properties to see what they have. Whatever people have, they have. They can't do anything about that. So their focal point was going to be the dealers, because the dealers, there's only so many out there. I mean, whatever, 50 of them, 100 of them. There's not, so there's a limited amount of dealers out there. That's what they were going to focus on. Okay, so that was going to be August, and then that would have been the deadline. Now, the final ruling on the pistol braces, and the way this proposal was, it wasn't gonna like outlaw the braces, it wasn't gonna like outlaw the AR pistols. All it was gonna do was it was gonna basically tell you if you could put the brace on your AR pistol through some really complicated point system that I could, me even as a gun guy, I couldn't understand it. So that was originally supposed to come out in August, and we found out that the ATF has now pushed that back to December, and we found that out through some other court case that's going on where they gave up that information, and that's how we know that the brace ruling's been pushed back to December. Now, after that ruling comes out, then there's still, I don't know, I'm guessing there'll be 120 days or something to come into compliance. I don't know how that's going to work. But you will still be able to buy the braces. You'll still be able to buy AR pistols. It's just going to be a question of if the braces can go on the AR pistol the way you have it configured. Okay, so that's where we were. That's where we are now. Okay, so now I want to put this in. Let's look at this now through the lens of the Supreme Court rulings that came out, and there's two of them. There's two of them that affect us. One was the Nysurper versus Bruin case out of New York, which basically focused on the carrying of guns, New York State issuing permits, and the special cause that people needed to show in order to get it. But out of that ruling, Clarence Thomas gave us a lot of gifts. Okay, he basically established, and the 5 of the other justices went along with it for a 6-3 decision. But it was Clarence Thomas's wording. and this is the most important thing for us. He changed the way that judges across the entire United States are supposed to look at the Second Amendment and interpret it. So when they're judging cases, they have to strictly look at the text and look at the history surrounding, the history at the time. Okay, they can't use anything else. They can't make up stuff. They can't, they're strictly limited to historical texts and the history at the time, which is solidly in our favor, since at the time that the Second Amendment was written, the people could own the same weapons that the military could own, and that includes cannons. Okay, and that it specifically says that in the Constitution, because in the Constitution it states that Congress has the ability to issue letters of marque. Letters of marque is basically legalized piracy on the high seas. So because this country originally, when they were writing up the Constitution, it really wasn't intended to have a full-time army. Okay, so the way it was supposed to set up, there was never supposed to be a full-time Navy. The way we were supposed to make war is Congress would issue a letter of marque, and if they did that, then the people can use their privately owned warships with their cannons on them to go out and attack the ships of other nations. Okay, so so letters of marque is basically legalized piracy that private citizens could be authorized to do by Congress, right? And Congress still has that power. They can still basically, it's basically a declaration of war. So Congress has the right to make a declaration of war and to issue letters of marque, which is basically allowing the citizens of this country to go out with their warships and do piracy, which means that in order for us to do piracy, we have to have warships. Okay, so that settles that business. Okay, the people can own the same weapons that the military can own, including warships. Okay, and what's on warships? Nuclear missiles. Yes, we have a right to own nuclear missiles if you can afford it. Okay, so anyway, going back to, I kind of lost my train of thought with this. Okay, so where are we now? We got this. And by the way, this video is meant to be entertaining. I'm going to go into some funny shit for you guys. Okay. Where are we now? Supreme Court gave us this decision against in Bruin versus New York, where they gave us this beautiful wording where judges in all courts in the United States, they limited to looking at just the historical text and putting it in the context of its time when it was written. Okay, that's the one thing, right? And the second thing is the ruling against the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, okay, which that came out last week, where they basically said that the EPA cannot make rules that basically impact the entire country. Okay, only Congress can do that, because if the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is making rules that affect all industry, they're basically making law. And the Supreme Court said that the EPA cannot do that. They cannot make law. So there's two things now working against the ATF. Okay, have to stick to historical text and what the words meant when they were written, and they cannot make law. Okay, so where are we now? Basically, ATF got his ass kicked. Okay, now don't get ahead of yourselves. Okay, the ATF rules are still in effect until a court basically says that they're not. Okay, so and this is important because no distributor is going to go against that. Okay, they're going to work through the courts. They're not, so then they're not going to just basically say, hey, screw the ATF, we're going to do whatever we want to do, because then they're going to have the Justice Department go after them. Okay, so this is going to this is going to work its way through the courts. Eventually, some court somewhere, because here's the thing. There's lots of different districts throughout the country, some more conservative than others. there's going to be some court, one of these courts, maybe one of the ones down south, like in that Texas area, that's going to be pretty quick to tell the ATF that they cannot change the rules and in fact make laws that say that these frames now have to be serialized and go to an FFL. Okay, so that's the one level. And then even if Congress did do that, it's still questionable because of the other ruling that came out where people have a right to own the same guns as the military, and the same deal with the braces. Okay, that's also going to be fought in court. We've got 2 rulings now against the ATF that the lawyers are going to be able to use. So this is how I'm visualizing this in my mind, okay, and this is kind of like this is what I came up with this morning as I was thinking about it. So basically, 1900s. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the dreadnought ships. Okay, the dreadnoughts were basically the early battleships around 1900, 1910. So you got these battleships that they're pretty almost indestructible, right? the only thing that could kill a battleship is another battleship. You can't attack it with a small boat or anything. So basically, the way I see the lawyers, right, they're like the submarine captains. Okay, so you got these lawyers who are submarine captains that are trying to attack this battleship, this dreadnought battleship, which is basically the ATF. And the problem that they have, they know how to destroy it, because all you got to do is get a torpedo past its hull, and to ignite the powder magazine, which will blow up the whole ship. Okay, so you got to get to the place where the bombs are stored inside the ship and ignite that in order to blow up the entire ship, which is basically the ATF in this analogy. I told you guys it was going to be entertaining. So the problem that the submarine captains have, right, that's the gun lawyers, is they know what they got to do, but they don't have a torpedo that's good enough to get in, to penetrate that submarine. To penetrate that dreadnought, that battleship, and pass, and ignite the powder magazine. And this is actually realistic because going into World War II, the torpedoes that the U.S. Navy had were crap. Okay, the fuses were wrong, so that they would ignite at the wrong time, and they would just like bounce off of the hulls of other ships. Okay, so going into World War II, we had really shitty torpedoes. All right, it took them a little while to figure out how to fix those. Okay, so that's the problem that the gun lawyers had against the ATF. They knew what they needed to do, but they didn't have a weapon to do it with. But now these 2 rulings, right, that came out of the Supreme Court, have given us 2 new torpedoes. Okay, we have 2 torpedoes, 2 totally different torpedoes that are equally effective. Okay, one is the ruling from the Bruin case, which says that that all the judges have to use historical text. The other torpedo that we have is the one against the EPA, which says that they're not allowed to make rule changes that impact the entire country and impact different, all the industries or specific industry, because that is in fact making law. So we got these 2 powerful torpedoes that are going to blow that ATF ship to smithereens. Okay, that's where we are now. Now, all that has to happen. Just because the plan's in place, the pieces are in place, the torpedoes, have been built, the lawyers still have to get in their submarines and go find that dreadnought and blow it to smithereens. And that's going to take some time. So what are we going to do? Just sit back and let them do their job, okay? We're the guys on the front lines with the little pea shooters, okay? We got to know our place. Our place with the little pea shooters here, right, is not to go fight battleships, okay? Wrong tool for the wrong job, okay? Our place is to hold the line, let the submarine captains go and blow up those dreadnought ships, and that's how we're going to win this war, right? So sometimes the best thing to do is just sit tight, keep doing what you're doing, keep building these things, because every time you build one of these, this basically puts more money into the hands of the distributors who are paying for the lawyers, okay? So That's our part. Our part is to keep building these, keep buying these, keep throwing money at them, right? And we've got tons of money. Where's my money? Forgot where I put my money. Okay, yeah, here's my money. Here you go. Take all my money. Take all my money. All right, that all goes to the lawyers to fight the government. Okay, so this is a very solid plan. I'm very, very optimistic. I tell you guys the honest truth. Okay, now we're going back to being serious here. I was just having some fun with you guys. But the reality is that prior to the Supreme Court ruling, and I'll tell you the truth, I did not think that we were going to get as strong of a ruling as we did in either case, because the Supreme Court is part of big government, and I didn't expect them to rule against themselves. You know, there's a special place in heaven for Clarence Thomas, right? Whenever he gets there, but he is the man. Clarence Thomas is the man. So I didn't think that this was going to end good for us. I mean, I didn't think we were going to lose our guns, but I didn't think we were going to be able to keep buying these and buying these and throwing them together any way we wanted to. But where we are right now, okay, I don't know if it's going to take 6 months, a year, 2, whatever it takes. Eventually, we're going to win this, like hands down, no question. You're going to be able to build all the guns that you want, put braces on the AR pistols. That we're going to win. But with these 2 torpedoes that we have, I mean, we're not stopping there, man. I see the potential to completely, like, rip out the entire NFA Act, to rip it out completely, because, you know, we have to use historical text. At the time that the Second Amendment was written, people could own military weapons. We have a right to own machine guns, okay? Government should not have better guns than us, okay? So I see I see the entire NFA being torn apart. Forgot what its name, whatever, the 68 Gun Control Act, I see that being ripped to pieces. They've got nothing to stand on, nothing. I don't know if it's all going to happen in my lifetime, because I'm 50 years old, but I think that, you know, this is the way it's going to go. Now, the only thing that we need to do is keep this balance on the Supreme Court, because right now we've got a 6-3 majority in favor of gun rights, you know, we have to keep putting people in Congress, in the Senate, and in the White House, who are going to keep putting people on the Supreme Court who are going to protect our rights. Because, you know, you guys saw how quickly, you know, I wasn't expecting Scalia to pass away when he passed away. So you could easily have some of these older justices, you know, get sick and die off, and all of a sudden Biden's putting his people on, and it's going to quickly turn against us. So in order to keep winning, we have to maintain our control of the Supreme Court, because that's where we win or we lose. And so far we're winning. That's where our focus is, and that's why I tell you guys, you gotta go out there and you gotta hold your nose and vote for those Republicans, right? Because they're the ones that are putting the conservative justices, the constitutionalist judges, on the Supreme Court, and they're not giving us everything, right? We don't get. In fact, it would have been ideal if the Supreme Court decision that came out, it would have been ideal if they basically just declared constitutional carry for the entire United States, right? They could have done that. They didn't. So they stopped short of that. I'm hoping that the next decision that comes out will, because what's going to happen is in New York, they're already defying the Supreme Court, right? They're trying to put up a bunch of BS to try and stop people from getting carry permits. So I'm hoping the next time that goes back to the Supreme Court, they're going to look at New York and California and say, hey, the states cannot be trusted to basically implement the Supreme Court decisions the way that they're being ruled. So hence, we have to do away with the permitting process altogether and go straight to constitutional carry. That will happen. Okay, that will happen as long as we can hold on to the Supreme Court. Okay, so that's why it matters. It matters, even though you know, half the time these Republicans are working for us, half the time they're working against us. They don't love us, but we're winning. All right, we're winning because, you know, we're holding our nose and voting for them and pushing them and all that stuff. So, you know, that's the main point I want to deliver here today. So thanks for watching. Make sure you guys are following me on Odyssey, which is uncensored. Over there I'm Pocono Tactical. On Rumble, I'm Pocono Guns. On YouTube, my backup channels are Absolute Gun Rights, Pocono Shooting, and the original Safa channel, which goes back to 2006. I'll talk to you all soon.